animals. A group of people are seated around the fire, men and women who look similar to us, but then not exactly the same. Something a little different about their build, the shape of their brows. Beyond the fire is complete darkness, only the moon and stars, clear and bright in the night sky. This is long, long ago. Suddenly, lightning, a flash, then another, and a rumble of thunder. The people at the fire do not panic though. They have weathered many storms. They look up into the sky, prepared for rainfall, prepared to head into the shelter of the cave. And so they do not notice at first that in the noise and tumult, a figure has appeared. His skin is pale and smooth, his hair oddly cut. He is slim and tall. He wears strange coverings, tight things around his legs and chest. The stranger opens his mouth to speak, but what comes out is meaningless, a jumble of sounds no one understands. But then he does something with the object in his hands, and suddenly, when he talks, he says, clear and loud, "Hello, I am friendly." The group stares. He continues, "And I have a question to ask." Days earlier, this time traveler, an inventor from the distant future, was preparing for just this moment. He had created a translation device, an instrument that he could use to understand any language. Tested on every dialect of his time, he knew it worked well, but he wanted to push it further. And so he had thought of the ultimate test. How far back in time, he wondered, could he use his device? How far back could he go and communicate with his ancestors? And so, as he stood before the group assembled around the fire, he slowly enunciated his evaluation question, his device clicking and whirring as he did so. How do you cook an egg? These prehistoric Homo sapiens shared the world with some mysterious, long-lost cousins, and now we finally know what their faces look like. Denisovans, previously only known from a few small bones and teeth from a cave in Siberia, have been found to be genetically related to the Dragon Man fossil of Homo longi. But what long-lost cousins and ancestors are in your family? Our sponsor today, MyHeritage, can help you find out. MyHeritage makes it fun and easy to build your family tree and discover your origins, and you might also find new relatives. A large amount of my family came from Ireland, and so there are some fascinating stories going back over the tumultuous 20th century. And as soon as I'd added a couple of family members, it connected my family tree with someone in Australia, which revealed waves of new relatives. Here's a picture of my great-great-grandfather, who I discovered through MyHeritage. He was a famous British politician who also had one of the biggest paper companies in the world. I had no idea. And using the Discoveries feature, I also found nearly 1,800 matches, going all the way back to Robert Hay Drummond, 10th Earl of Kinnoul in Scotland. And he was born in 1751. It was amazing how far back I could go, and it was so easy. I clicked about 5 buttons. Although MyHeritage has over 33 billion entries, so in a sense it was unsurprising they managed to find so much information. So, discover who you are with MyHeritage and get a 14-day free trial by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code on the screen. Some people simply cannot say, "I went for a drink." In the Berek language, spoken by around 1,000 people living in 5 villages along the banks of the Tor River in Indonesia, you would be forced to specify when. Time phrases are encoded into Berek verbs, leaving no words that mean "I went for a drink." But you could say, "I went for a drink in the middle of the daytime." Conversely, Piraha, spoken by only one tribe in Amazonas, Brazil, has absolutely no concept of time. It is one of the phonologically simplest languages known, being constructed from between 10 and 13 phonemes or sounds. When talking about that drink in Paraha, there are no different ways to say I drank, I am drinking, or I will drink, leaving all communication rooted in the present moment. Translation is not simple, and direct translation is often completely impossible. Indeed, the time traveler's universal translator would doubtless have been challenged by these unique languages spoken in tiny pockets of today's world. But would he have similarly struggled as he travelled back to the dawn of language itself? How far back would he be able to go and still make sense of what was communicated to him? The origins of language have both fascinated and polarized scientists for centuries, with language itself regularly seen as a defining characteristic of being human. Victorian language professor Friedrich Max Müller, despite being in his own words a diligent reader and sincere admirer of Charles Darwin's work, simply couldn't see fit to include human language within the influence of natural selection. What is it that man can do, and of which we find no signs, no rudiments in the whole brute world? I answer without hesitation, the one great barrier between the brute and man is language. Language is our Rubicon, and no brute will dare to cross it. However, a discovery several years earlier by French physician Paul Broca would put this in doubt. A discovery made in the head of a man called Tan. Tan was the nickname given to Louis Victor Le Borgne, a 51-year-old who'd been hospitalized in Paris for over 20 years. He earned his nickname because the only syllable he could consistently utter was Tan. Despite this severe speech impediment, Tan could understand spoken language, follow instructions, and use gestures to communicate basic needs, indicating that his intelligence and comprehension were largely intact. And so after Tan's death in 1861, Broca performed an autopsy and discovered a lesion in the left frontal lobe, in what is now called the posterior inferior frontal gyrus, or Broca's area. Presenting his findings to the Society of Anthropology, Broca argued that this region was responsible for articulated language production, revolutionizing neuroscience by showing that language is not a spiritual faculty, but rather tied to specific structures in the brain that would be just as open to evolutionary changes and pressures as any other part of the body. But 70,000 years ago, the time at which our traveller begins his journey, Homo sapiens would have already been anatomically modern. And so knowing that, does that mean they would have spoken as well as we do? Our ancestors at this time would have looked remarkably like us. A stronger brow maybe, more rugged features, but otherwise they would differ very little from modern humans in their physicality. But their lives are vastly different. They don't yet farm or build cities. Instead, they move constantly, following herds of animals and the seasonal abundance of fruit, nuts, and roots. Fire, long since conquered, crackles in their camps, offering warmth and a place to cook whatever food they've scavenged or hunted. They fashion simple tools from stone, wood, and bone. These are not crude, but crafted with skills they pass down through the generations. Their social groups are tight-knit, likely composed of family members, a structure essential for survival in a harsh world. And so if we were to listen in on a group of Homo sapiens seated around their campfire, what might we hear? A century on from Broca's discovery, scientists have found that the vocal tract of early Homo sapiens provides anatomical evidence for the capacity for spoken language. A key feature is the descended larynx, which creates a longer pharyngeal cavity,
What the fuck,
a muscular
bro?
tube in the neck that connects the mouth and nose to the esophagus and larynx, all held inside the throat.
Bro.
This longer cavity allows for a range of sounds, including distinct vowel formations, essential elements of complex speech.
Take me near the womb.
Indeed, all languages in the world today have vowel sounds. Some languages just 3, others, like Danish, have 20. And so unlike non-human primates, whose higher positioned larynx limits vocal flexibility, early Homo sapiens had a structure capable of producing rapid, varied phonemes, the smallest
for
sound
fuck's
in a
sake.
word that can change its meaning.
Keeps on doing it. Stupid. So stupid.
But the lowered larynx is not the only evidence of complex
Keep it
speech capacity
tight.
in Homo sapiens.
My
And
god.
it's the combination of different facets of mouth, tongue, and throat anatomy that ultimately helps us modern humans create our complex language. Indeed, our flexible, rounded tongues, situated in the back of our
Why does it
throats,
cancel
allow us to make a
itself? I don't
range
know.
of sounds that other animals cannot. Combined with the fine motor control of the lips and jaw, all of this suggests a sophisticated set of apparatus for making and manipulating a huge range of sounds, which is essentially a way of saying early Homo sapiens likely had words. And we can go even further. The language capacity is written even more deeply into Homo
Went too
sapiens,
far, but then it's going
into
even farther.
our DNA. Early Homo
All for
sapiens carried a unique version of the FOXP2 gene, a gene that is essential for proper development as well as vocalization abilities. And we know that modern humans with mutations in this gene today struggle with language comprehension and speech articulation, in part thanks to a family living in Britain in the 1990s. The KE family had speech and language disorders present in 3 generations. About half of the family members exhibited severe difficulties with articulation, called orofacial dyspraxia, as well as difficulty understanding grammar and interpreting language. Genetic analysis, still a big undertaking in the 90s, linked their condition to a defect in FOXP2. Brain imaging of affected family members also revealed abnormalities in Broca's area, basal ganglia, and cerebellum, all brain regions involved in speech motor control. FOXP2, it seemed, was vital for language development. And FOXP2 is present in many animals, from chimpanzees to zebrafish, but in humans it appears to play a role in neuroplasticity. It helps neurons in the brain change. And it's this ability to change that allows for the learning of language. Indeed, more recently, a group of researchers from Germany sat back in their labs and listened to something remarkable.
It's history of humankind. How far back in time could you communicate with your ancestor? It's basically about if you had a time machine and in which point in history do you go back and still be able to talk to your ancestors, or you just get eaten alive or decapitated by the more savage version. Pretty cool video. History of the universe and history of humankind is 2 channels of the same guy. It's pretty cool. A lot of educational stuff about your own world.
Mice pups singing in a language influenced by human evolution. The researchers had made a vocal Frankenstein's monster of these baby mice, replacing the mouse version of FOXP2 with a humanized variant. Mice are known to produce ultrasonic vocalizations, high-frequency sounds beyond human hearing ability to communicate a range of needs, from mating calls to distress warnings. These genetically modified rodent pups produced ultrasonic vocalizations that were lower in pitch than those of their unaltered counterparts.
It's not so high level.
Study
It's just
found that adult mice with the human version of
understanding
FOXP2 used
where
more
you're coming
complex syllables. And yet, FOXP2 is necessary, but not quite enough on its own for language development. But to further bolster our evidence, we can look beyond anatomy. Indeed, the various social abilities of these very early humans indicate something about the way they thought, and the way they communicated. These people were well skilled in tool-making, from weapons to utensils. Though basic to our modern eyes, a complex stone tool with a specific shape and a sharpened edge can't be made by simply smashing 2 rocks together. It requires planning and dexterity. And so when we're looking
a lot
for
of
evidence
videos
of language,
you will enjoy,
or even just some form of clear communication, the presence of so many tools throughout time periods provides clear clues. Toolmaking suggests an ability to pass knowledge
See
down
if I'm
to
not paying
others.
attention.
To teach requires
I just
structured
missed the turn. I have to
communication,
turn around
and to
again.
teach something complex would certainly be much easier if communication came in the form of spoken language. We also know that Homo sapiens buried their dead with grave goods and bodies arranged in very specific ways. Anthropologists see this as a clear sign of abstract thought and possibly even a belief system. For these early people to coordinate their society around a belief system, or at the least to agree on a set approach to burial, there must have been the ability to communicate complex, non-material ideas, perhaps about life, death, and an afterlife. And one of the most important pieces of evidence for early symbolic thinking is found in Blombos Cave, South Africa. Here were discovered pieces of ochre decorated with abstract patterns, etchings made with tools by ancient hands, a series of overlapping lines and zigzags. Too much decay left archaeologists in the dark about the true age of the artifacts. But this was the 1990s and a new technology had emerged. Optically stimulated luminescence, a method that measures when mineral grains last saw sunlight. The extended time these precious pieces of the past had spent beneath ground, the very thing that revealed their hidden origins. Buried in darkness, quartz slowly absorbs radiation from the earth. In the lab, a precise flash of blue light releases the stored energy, allowing scientists to calculate how long grains have been underground. And what this new technology revealed was fascinating. For the artifacts at Blombos Cave weren't 30,000 or even 50,000 years old. They stretched back 75,000 years, placing them within a brief but extraordinary burst of human creativity known as the Still Bay culture. This early in their existence, Homo sapiens were creating art. Today, we recognize that Homo sapiens developed symbolic culture in Africa tens of thousands of years before spreading across the world. These ancient people had the desire and ability to represent concepts and to render thought into physical form, to share ideas about art and creativity and advanced toolmaking, all enabled by advanced language skills. And so the brave time traveler would be the first to test this theory in the flesh. At the Homo sapiens camp, he approaches with his device. A young woman watches with curiosity as he lays down a couple of eggs he has brought for his experiment. The woman is interested. Without domesticated birds, eggs would be harder to come by here, relying on pickpocketing nests.
Eggs and eggs.
The inventor asks once more, "How do I cook an egg?" The time traveler's translation device throws out some sounds, and the young woman tilts her head, grins, and finally speaks. The language is unfamiliar, but it is clearly a language, structured but simple. The translator jumps back to life and says, "Put egg on stone. Stone hot from fire. Crack egg on stone. Stone is hot. Egg will cook. Eat egg." It is not complex, but it is clear. It is thought, speech, and communication. With the device, the inventor can converse with ancient Homo sapiens. Here is a language it can translate. It is no doubt a fascinating start to his journey, but the traveler is eager to test his device further. What happens if he continues back in time? Will these words dissolve into nothingness? And if so, what will he find in their place? At Zoo Atlanta, in Georgia in the United States, a gorilla locks eyes with a zookeeper holding a piece of food. But instead of reaching out to take her meal or grunting in frustration, she does something unexpected. The gorilla lets out a soft, sharp sound unlike anything the keeper has heard from the gorillas before. sounds almost like a blend of a sneeze and a cough. Subtle, almost conspiratorial, as if the gorilla is trying to get the zookeeper's attention without alerting her groupmates. With time, researchers recorded this strange vocalization among more Western gorillas in the zoo, particularly adult females, in scenarios where a human held food. It was distinct from their usual calls, and, intriguingly, when the researchers surveyed other zoos, they found the sound wasn't unique to Zoo Atlanta. Gorillas elsewhere had independently developed the same quiet, attention-seeking signal. These whisper-like sounds suggest an alternative to the belief that gorillas, similar to other great apes, have rigid, largely instinctual vocal repertoires. This strange noise, suited to such a specific scenario, suggested a capacity for vocal innovation, an ability to tweak and invent new vocalizations that hints at a deeper flexibility in their communication, perhaps even an evolutionary echo of how human speech began. However, this example is interesting for its rarity. In general, apes find it hard to modulate the volume and intensity of their vocalizations. Why? Part of the challenge lies in anatomy. Apes possess large air sacs attached to the hyoid bone, which amplify vocalizations, making their calls louder and more resonant. This adaptation is ideal for long-distance communication in dense forests, where booming calls can carry through the trees. Indeed, some primates take this even further. Siamangs, a species of gibbon, have an enormously enlarged hyoid bone, supporting a throat pouch that inflates dramatically, allowing them to produce calls that echo for over a kilometer. While useful for attracting mates or warning rivals, this sac-driven vocal system is poorly suited to precise, controlled speech. Clearly, somewhere along the evolutionary line, our ancestors lost these air sacs. When did this happen, and what did this mean for how we communicate? And so it is time for us to take the time traveler back a few more thousand years and test out his translator on a yet more distant ancestor, Homo heidelbergensis. Homo heidelbergensis lived across Africa, Europe and parts of Asia between 300,000 and 800,000 years ago, thriving as skilled hunters. They used wooden spears, hunted large prey and controlled fire. Indeed, we have found burnt bones, hearts and expertly crafted spears from this period in sites such as Schoningen and Gesher Beno Yaakov. It is clear that their intelligence went beyond basic survival. They exhibited strategic thinking, cooperation, and possibly rudimentary communication. But did they have anything resembling true language? Well, if we did encounter Homo heidelbergensis and try to talk to them, though their response would likely not be total silence, it would not be anything close to the language of Homo sapiens. However, we can be fairly certain that they were capable of producing vowel sounds, the essential building blocks of speech. And if they combined those vowel sounds with progressive vocalizations, like clicking or tutting, this could be considered an early foundation for the language that would come many thousands of years later. A major clue comes from that small, horseshoe-shaped throat bone, about 5 to 6 centimeters wide, that we share with other primates and apes, the hyoid bone. Many mammals have this bone, but as we've seen, in the great apes, unlike humans, it is surrounded by air sacs. And these air sacs give apes the ability to be loud, really loud. It's a useful tool, but it prevents subtle pitch control, limiting the complexity and nuance of our primate cousins' communications. Indeed, by testing anatomical models with and without air sacs, we know that if we were to add air sacs to a human throat, it would distort our vocalizations, rendering them unclear. And so at some point in evolutionary history, we humans lost the air sacs and gained the ability to be clearer and more varied in our vocalizations. But we don't know exactly when this loss occurred. What we do know now, though, is that it had happened whilst Homo heidelbergensis still walked the earth, before the existence of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Most of what we know about extinct species comes from the bones that fossilize well. Big, dense structures like skulls, femurs, and teeth. In many cases, scavengers or passing animals destroy more fragile bones before they even have a chance to fossilize. And so, fossilized hyoid bones are very hard to come by. So hard that only a handful have ever been discovered. And because the hyoid does not connect directly to any other bone in the body, it is easy for it to move away from its long dead owner, carried off by the ebb and flow of soil movement over time. This means that to find an ancient hyoid bone at all is remarkable, and to find two, extraordinary. 30 years ago, that is exactly what happened. Deep in the heart of Spain's Atapuerca Mountains lies Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones. A silent, prehistoric crypt enclosed in earth for 400,000 years, accessible only by ascending a 13-meter vertical shaft. Within the darkness, undisturbed for hundreds of thousands of years, lay the remains of at least 28 ancient hominins. Originally identified as Homo heidelbergensis, but now classified as not exactly that. DNA evidence has shown them to be related to Neanderthals, but not yet Neanderthal, with terms such as proto or pre-Neanderthal sometimes being used to describe them. Their bones, skulls, jaws, and teeth are all well preserved, and at the time of their discovery made up around 80% of all discovered human fossils that lived between 720 and 130,000 years ago. And it was here that archaeologists found the two hyoid bones, the first in 1992, the second in 1994, and through them were able to rewrite the history of communication. For when scientists studied the fossils, they were able to confirm there had been no air sacs attached to these hyoid bones. This means that these hominins, living 400,000 years ago, were not screeching like apes, but in fact had the capacity for greater control over tone, pitch, and articulation. Their speech had the potential to be more structured and varied than a chimpanzee's hoots or an orangutan's booming calls. The DNA of these Cima de los Huesos hominins has also revealed that we, Homo sapiens, share a last common ancestor with them between 550 and 750,000 years ago. If we assume that the loss of air sacs was a single evolutionary event, rather than multiple species of hominin independently losing the characteristic, this would push back the event at least that far, right into the earlier days of Homo heidelbergensis. Other fossil evidence from skulls suggests that Homo heidelbergensis had a vocal tract shape closer to ours than an ape's. This vocal tract shape meant that they could likely produce the sounds A, I, and U, albeit with less stability than modern humans. Their speech would have been somewhat slurred and slow due to anatomical limitations. The building blocks of all this evidence is scant, but each tiny bone, each skull, each small piece of knowledge gained from a scan or a study works to tell us that the communication of Homo heidelbergensis and their contemporaries was probably far more than just a series of grunts. But they at least had the capacity, though we'll never know if it was actually used, for rhythm, pitch variation, and possibly even word-like sounds. But verbal communication is a two-way street. A species must not only produce complex sounds, but also hear them accurately. Another team working at Cima de los Huesos studied the fossilized ear bones discovered at the site. They found that they had a human-like pattern of sound perception. This differs from chimpanzees, who hear sounds outside the normal human speech range. They could hear human-like frequencies. It suggests that sounds, structured like early speech and language, at least in its most primitive form, was already forming within their communities.
Because
and so it is time
they're
for us to
mostly high
test
power,
the
but this
translation
atom
device again.
one is not so powered, to be honest. It's maxed out and still doesn't have that punch. So it didn't waste anything by not getting this one.
Into the ancient forest on
The other one, the military, is pretty good, but it has very high consumption.
He follows his nose. Eventually, he reaches a clearing, and there, at last, he finds his ancestors. lounging in the warmth of a fire, snacking on
gonna get
seeds
stuck.
and fruit. Just as before, he holds up his gift of eggs,
I'm 100%.
pointing
I'm gonna
to the
get
fire.
stuck here.
One of the males, a large, stocky figure, looks up.
Just
He
don't
makes a
flip the
soft
fuck over.
cooing
That's it.
sound,
Just don't
a
flip
long
over.
vowel.
Don't flip over.
Ah, then
Don't flip, bro.
E-oo.
Bro.
It's not
don't
quite
flip.
speech, not as we know it,
Hey.
but there's a structure to
Come on,
these
straight.
noises. They're not entirely
Straighten out.
random.
Holy shit.
The inventor
Come on.
holds up the translator and lets it absorb the words.
Come on.
The
Eee,
male
everyone.
continues to
Eee,
speak,
you're doing it
his
very
hands
well.
making
Come on.
simple gestures to clarify meaning. It feels like watching a toddler learning to talk, their communication full of intention, but lacking refined articulation. Another member of the group joins in, echoing the same cooing sound, but this time adding a humming-like
No, my
sound,
throat. My throat
drawing out
is
the
so
syllables.
damaged. Holy shit.
Could this be emphasis or agreement? The translation device pipes up.
Come on.
Egg,
Don't.
dirt, fire.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I love
They
don't
dig
do
a
it.
small hole with a stick, take the egg, place it in the hole,
Don't get
and cover
stuck.
it up. A makeshift oven. The tribe
I
members
know it's
nod
heavy.
in
I know it's heavy.
encouragement.
Just
The
push through.
traveller has made contact. Homo heidelbergensis may not have a full
What a
language,
good boy.
but they likely had meaningful vocal communication. They could get meaning across through their primitive speech.
I didn't take it.
It feels like we have reached the earliest point of
I
human-like
love playing this with a controller.
vocalizations.
It's so
The
relaxing.
hyoid bone allows them to be more nuanced with sound and pitch.
You're gonna play No
Before
Man's
them,
Sky with a
their
controller
ancestors
as well.
had air sacs and perhaps
I don't
other
need to aim
anatomical
there.
differences. And so
I'm
count
playing No
earlier
Man's Sky as a
ancestors tell us
transporter
that this
only.
ability for
I don't
complex
care about shooting. I
communication
play
happened
Battlefield for
gradually
shooting.
or all at once. The traveller decides to travel back once again.
I need to get in my gacha games today as well. Come on, man.
A small baby lies on a playmat.
Alpha
her eyes
Tank. I
wide,
used Alpha
absorbing
Tank
the
already.
world around her. She's 6 or 7 months old, still a long way from speaking her first words. But if you watch closely, you'll notice how her tiny hands move in rhythmic, repetitive motions.
Yeah, I also played
She
Elite
is
Dangerous,
exhibiting
but this
manual
latest
babbling.
update from No Man's Sky is
Manual
the
babbling,
Voyager
like
or
vocal
Voyager
babbling,
or whatever
is
it's
an early
called.
form of communication. It
It
can be
lets you
observed in children
customize
who
your
are
ship. It
consistently
lets
exposed to
you
sign language,
have a
whether they're
fleet,
deaf, born to deaf families,
Freightliner,
or learning systems
a
like
huge
Makaton.
mothership that
And this
can
ability
host
to engage in
a
manual
lot of
language before
spaceships.
verbal language suggests
You
a
can be a
deep-seated
hauler.
ability to create
It has
meaning with
developed
gesture.
very, very nicely.
The
You
fact
should
that
try
even
No
before
Man's
infants
Sky.
can
It's
form
very cool.
words, they are capable of expressing themselves
Elite
with their
Dangerous is
hands,
cool as well, but
demonstrates that
it's
tiny
lacking
humans
in
are wired
content.
for communication through
And
movement first.
I played it
Indeed,
a lot.
babies
Elite
cry from
Dangerous.
day one and smile and
That's a
laugh
pretty
from
good
mere
combat
months old.
system.
Forms of communication, however
But that's
rudimentary.
really much it. The exploration is meh.
The
No Man's
presence of
Sky is
manual
much
babbling
better now.
and the
It's
ability
much
of
feels a
people
lot
with
more
hearing or
alive
speech impediments to
than
use
before.
sign language shows us clearly that communication
on,
is
Azov.
not inherently
Come on.
tied to speech. It relies
Push
only
through,
on
push,
symbols
push.
and structured rules. It is our brain's ability to process patterns, whether through sound or movement, that underpins our capacity for language. And so if gesture is a
Hi, boss.
fundamental
Hi.
part of communication,
Hi.
how far back does this ability go? If the time traveler
Onegai.
continues his journey back through time, he
Onegai
might be
shimasu.
able to pinpoint when symbolic communication first arose. And so he settles on his
Breath of a
next
galaxy,
trip.
the depth of
It
a
will be a
fucking-
visit
yeah.
to Australopithecus afarensis, one of our earliest ancestors.
Isn't it amazing that how the scale in the universe works? We're not even micro. We're beyond
Australopithecus
micro in this
afarensis lived
universe.
3.9
We're so
to
small, like
2.9
we're
million
in a
years
quantum
ago.
level
They
compared
inhabited
to
diverse landscapes across East Africa, and were
central
already
galaxy black
bipedal,
holes and
walking
stuff like
upright
that.
on 2 legs, but still perhaps spent some time
You
in
got-
the trees, as they retained
The
some
Earth
features
is
suited
a
for tree
million
climbing,
times smaller
such as
than the
curved
sun,
fingers
and
and
our
strong
sun
upper
is
limbs.
a few million
Standing
times
around
smaller
3.5
than
to 5 feet
you
tall,
know, huge.
they had small
dying
brains,
star.
roughly 1/3 the size of a modern human's.
I think it's all
Their
beyond
environment
human
was a
comprehension.
mosaic of woodlands,
For now.
savannas, and river valleys.
And we will never
offering
leave the
both
solar
dense
system. I don't
vegetation
think we
for
ever will.
foraging and open
Not in this
grasslands
form.
for scavenging and hunting small
This
prey.
form with you know,
They shared their world with
depending
large
on
predators,
gravity
such as
and being
ancient
so
big
weak.
cats and crocodiles,
I don't
making
think we
group
will ever leave this
cooperation and
planet in this
vigilance
form,
essential
unless
for
we turn
survival.
ourselves, you know,
And so
android
despite their
style,
primitive nature, Australopithecus
cyberware.
afarensis was a vital link in human evolution.
As long as we're dependent on
Bridging the gap
food and
between
gravity, we
tree-dwelling
will not leave
apes
this
and
place.
the later hominins that would develop more complex
That's actually the
behaviors
plot of
and
Stellar Blade.
technologies.
I know
And while we can't
most people will
directly
say, oh, it's
reconstruct
just
their
a horny game.
communication,
It's not just a horny
fossil
game, it has a pretty
evidence
good
does
story.
provide important
But they
clues.
fail to tell it. They fail to deliver the story in detail. So
Like modern
it turns out
primates,
to be, if you're not
Australopithecus
paying
afarensis
attention and
had a
don't read
hyoid bone,
most of the
key
things,
structure in vocalization.
well, it's funny because if you don't
However,
read most
their
of the things, then
hyoid
you're
was
not
more
really much,
similar to
you're
that
not
of
really interested in the
chimpanzees than to
story. But
modern humans.
if you are interested and
And
read
so clearly
about
it
the
was
story,
somewhere between Homo
you will see that
heidelbergensis and
it's
these
not just some
Australopithecus
AI
afarensis
going wild.
that air sacs were discarded.
It's human
For
ambition
Australopithecus
that
afarensis,
AI
this
brings it
suggests
to
that their
a
vocal
practical
tract was
level,
likely not well
which,
suited for complex speech, and they vocalized more like chimpanzees.
well,
Loud
we
screeches,
already
hoots,
are
and
partially
calls,
machines
but with
because
limited ability to produce
most of us
varied,
cannot
nuanced
leave the house
sounds.
without a phone, without a
But did these
smartphone.
calls convey meaning
Uh,
beyond what we see
I'm a
in
gamer,
modern
I'm 40 years
chimps?
old, I'm
We
divorced,
can't be sure, but there's a
and of
strong
course I'm
argument
divorced.
that
I couldn't be a
Australopithecus
gamer if
afarensis
I,
would have supplemented their vocalizations
wait a
with
minute.
gestures.
I couldn't be a gamer, you know, if I was married. I'm not so lucky. I'm not so lucky to find the right one. And should I deliver them here or should I go to another place? Let's see. But even in my 40s, I'm you know, very reluctant to procreate. Let's just say so, and remarry ever. I'm not going. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do that again. But you have to excuse my English. I'm a Romanian, so it's not very precise, and I'm also high, so that won't help. But I think that humans, I'm pretty much MG. Yeah. I don't think humans have the bodies, right? I don't know what Elon Musk is trying to do, you know, going to Mars. I think it's a huge waste of time. And it would be a lot better if he would just invent, um, just create, you know, 2B from Nier Automata as female android maids, and I will never ever leave the house again. I mean, why would I? So I think humans will get stuck here for a while, and also the universe seems to be a little bit out of reach and against us. It's just so I can't fit in here. Let me see. Take it wide. And the distance is, we can't even get to 1 or 5% of the speed of light. And even if by, I don't know, insane physics or inventions we get to the speed of light, it's still not enough. We're still gonna spend a lot of time. I'm not sure how time is flowing when you're going at the speed of light, but I'm sure that everybody else on Earth is dead by the time you reach your destination. Most likely dead. So that's not very good. I mean, if you agree to get on a light speed spaceship, you're pretty much done with your family and your friends. You know, if you have any. And yeah, it's just people that have nothing to lose, I guess. They'll say, you know, fuck it. I'm going away. I'm starting a new life in the new solar system. And I think that's the answer for all civilization in the universe, to, you know, go completely cyber, and as long as you can repair your body instead of healing it, and you're disease free, then you can go anywhere in the universe, I think. And imagine getting a very complicated disease on a ship. Then what? Doesn't work on the scale of individual humans. I think the scale, humans and this planet are so irrelevant for the universe that our existence or our disappearance doesn't affect it at all. Our whole existence is just a blink of an eye. And I'm not saying our existence from, from day one to right now. I'm saying our entire existence until we fade away or kill ourselves with some nuclear bombs. That's gonna be fun. We get to play, we get to see in real life, from all the hours of gaming, how a nuclear bomb feels like. But I don't think anybody will want a nuclear war except Putin, who's a fucking retard, by the way. Because our demise with nuclear bombs is very stupid in the sense that nobody wins. Nobody gets new terrain, nobody gets to occupy new countries, to take new resources, because you just can't live there for a while. You nuke, there is one thing to nuke, like they did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but it's a whole completely different level with these modern nukes. Are 100 times stronger at least than Hiroshima, and radiation will stick. It will always be there. Okay. Farm next. Where is my I don't know. I mean, it was even if the birth rate is not declining. I don't think we will have too many years on this planet, because the intention now is to find another place instead of fixing this one, and that's that's never that's never a good idea, in my opinion. Huh? Come on, bro. That's never a good idea, because eventually I don't think Mars will be able to facilitate humans in a way that they will enjoy it. They need to pick. Yeah, that's true. The nukes are not really there to be used. They are there just to intimidate and to keep peace. Because if you're super strong, then you can maintain peace. And a nuclear bomb is very strong, in my opinion. Especially the ICBMs nowadays with 13, 14 warheads. I need to turn around this 6. Oh my god. I need to turn this bitch around. Let's see. I think I can turn it here. Yeah. Good place. I'm gonna ruin this person's yard. And the 6 is so much better than the Atom. I don't know why it has a low straddle. It's a monster. It shouldn't have a low straddle. I'm glad it does. Come on. Between these three. Come on. Come on. Don't flip. Don't fucking flip on me. Yeah. I don't know. I think I may come to Romania, Bulgaria, Greece. I have health problems too. This is good. Oh, sorry to hear that. I also have health problems, liver and lung. I used to, drink a lot and stress a lot, and then Oh, Australia, no, I don't want to. I never want to visit Australia. It's just one of those places I have zero interest. I think Romania is like a holiday country. There's not much happening, not many things to worry about, and oh, okay, it doesn't, and you can have a lot of fun with the least amount of money. So I'm not an insect fan. I don't like spiders. I don't like snakes. I like cats and dogs, of which there are plenty in Romania. So you don't have to worry about those here. Those pesky fucking creatures. Blech. I saw in Australia like a stick insect, huge as my hand, and it looks like from another planet. I don't trust that shit around the house, man. I don't want to see it. I don't want to touch it. I'm sure it doesn't want to touch me either. Well, I'm sure the shark was in the water and the person had no business being there because humans are not fish. So when I hear about someone getting eaten by a shark, I just imagine that they insist on swimming in places they're not supposed to, and then wonder they get eaten by the local predator. Yeah, yeah, I saw on YouTube a lot of creatures that I don't want to mess with. Surfer guys, so sorry about that. I appreciate surfers. I like them when I see them on YouTube, and I think they're pretty cool. But I wouldn't risk. Yeah, I don't think the sharks like to come close to the beach. It's too noisy. It's too crowded. Um, they also get scared, most likely. They're not very smart. I don't know if you know if you can't accept the fact that you're gonna get eaten by a shark if you go in its area. It's like going up to a brown bear and wonder why you get eaten. I'm sure the surfer didn't see the shark, but that's the whole point. It's still a predator. I just hope he didn't suffer. But I think sharks will give you always a swift death. They won't torture you. They're not humans. Need to fill this up. Damn, this Zix has a lot more power than the Atom, the Assault Atom. And also in Romania, we have really beautiful people, especially the women. Well, you know, I'm a guy, so even if I've been longing for years for an Asian woman, I can't find one Asian woman around here because there aren't any. But I spoke with a few at my work as I import stuff from China, and I really like their demeanor and the way they look. I think Asian women don't age at all until they're like 50, and then they suddenly age like 20 years in 1 year. They suddenly blow. They turn into granny instantly. Yay. Oh my god. Such a good feeling to be free and do whatever the fuck you want to do. Without people, you know, messing around with your hobby, which I hate the most. and it's just it's the the guys that are married, they always try to give you this speech as a guy that you're supposed to do that and it's normal, and the same guy comes around 10 years later and tell you that I don't know what to do to get out of this marriage. I don't know either, bro. Have you thought about divorcing? Ah, I can't divorce because I'm gonna lose my shit. It's not really your shit now, is it? If you're gonna lose it if you divorce. I don't know. It's. I think social media and dating sims and apps uh, ruined ruined this experience. Women objectify themselves. Men lie their ass off. I have money. I have cars. Actually, it's the boss's car or something, and it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. I don't know why people bother so much. I don't care. At the farm. Oh boy, that's a lot of work. Okay, left. I need to go like. Should I go? Nah, this area sucks for a double trailer. I'll just take this route. I got a gas station here. Ah, pretty easy. Yeah, it's not even about fair or not fair. It's about how much you allow uh, as a guy and even as a woman. I'm not saying guys are perfect. We are far from it, and some of us are quite disgusting. And I'm not talking about Asmongold or stuff like that. I think that Asmongold can be disgusting because he doesn't have I want to have a wife. I want to have a girl. He doesn't say that. He's just alone by himself. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, and he's the Roach King after all. Uh, what was the story you were telling before about AI in a game? Hmm. That's a good question. I'm so high, I can't remember. Uh, what was the context more? Can you remember the context more? I think I knew what I was talking about, but I can't remember exactly. I think AI in games, talking about the subject, it will develop to a point that you can have a social life in a single player and RPG, like Skyrim, for example, uh, or Elder Scrolls. I don't know. You just can have long conversations with the AI. Just stop at the bar or the vendor and talk about everything. You said that AI was implementing the will of humans rather than being crazy. Ah, yes. The story in Stellar Blade is about I don't know if you want to play it or not. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the game itself won't tell you this, so you're not at a loss or spoiled. But humans want to progress themselves, to evolve. So they invent this super AI that's I don't know, for some reason depicted as a teenage girl. I don't know what's the logic behind that. Anyway, uh, so the AI, given this task, it thought that, well, if I want to evolve humans to be able to space travel and stuff, I need to create them better. I need to make them better without fragile organs, without skin, you know, fragile skin without bones. Without we need to replace bones with exoskeleton with metals, with high you know durability metals. Their power will be a lot more power. They don't have a problem with living in zero gravity. They don't have a problem living in no oxygen, no air and no oxygen places. They can you know walk out in outer space without problems. Stellar Blade. I'm sure you heard of Stellar Blade. So the next logical thing for the AI was to improve humans because the AI said, I cannot create a spaceship that will facilitate all your needs and be able to hold generation after generation of people. Besides that, people that were born in a spaceship and live in a spaceship might lose their minds at some point, especially if they hear about the life on Earth and how people are free and not stuck in a cage. And not to mention any type of malfunction is pretty much, you know, a flat tire in the middle of the cosmos is not something you just go out and switch as a human. Long logs. I think there is a new trailer for long logs. I haven't played logs in a while. The new maps and missions in SnowRunner are less hauling and more. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the new missions. I like to transport heavy stuff. And yes, Stellar Blade has a really hot female protagonist. The attention to detail they gave to this character is it's making her like the ultimate waifu. But I hope you're not underage. It's gonna ruin your perception about women. Or who knows? Maybe you will live in Korea and South Korea actually has this kind of women. They are so beautiful, it's ridiculous. It's like they're real life made with AI somehow. Oh, six is so fucking strong. Look at it. Look at him go. Yeah, well, it's a big problem nowadays with being an adult or a kid on YouTube. The British government went full retard. Once the Queen died, they just lost their fucking mind. Arresting people for comments, while immigrants rape and stab locals. How nice is that? I'm not surprised they want to burn down the government. And even so, British people are decent enough to withstand this crap for years. And you know, it's always those fucking Americans. Even in Japan, they close their doors for tourists for a while, and they don't like immigrants. They don't like to mess with their culture. I don't think people will revolt too much against it because even activists, even you know the most ambitious people that you just go out in the street and complain about a lot of shit, uh, they are just complaining about it. They don't really want to do anything about the problem. They just go out and scream, which doesn't help anyone. The government is aware of the problem without them screaming in the streets. So they won't fix anything just by, I'm gonna burn the... No. You need to elect better. You need to change the guy. You need to make a petition to change it. To change the minister. Because at the end of the day, the country, it belongs to the people, not to the three geezers working up in the state. That's just bullshit. Yeah, I really enjoyed Stellar Blade. It's not because the protagonist is hot. That helps, but it's not the only reason. The combat is pretty good. It's Devil May Cry, a bit scaled, downscaled Devil May Cry, and Souls-like on steroids. Somewhere in between. And the animations are flawless and very, very well made. Come on, Six. The night is upon us. We need to move. I just hope I'm gonna get there with this fuel. But I have an open garage here, so there's no problem. So you enjoy the classics. Bro, third. Oh my god. Come on, come on, come on, come on. I'm so pissed they made a live action out of Solo Leveling, the anime. I don't know why they do that. In my opinion, Jinwoo is Jinwoo, the character drawn in the animation, not a real person. Don't put a real person. I played Planet Side to MechWarrior Living Legends and Ark, and still play MechWarrior. Yeah, I never got into MechWarrior. I used to play the old version like 20 years ago. It was peak at that point, or 30 years ago. I don't know how much it was, but it had pretty good graphics for its time. And since then, I'm a Call of Duty Battlefield guy mostly. I do love JRPGs, and Nier Automata being one of my all-time favorite games, from music to story to combat. It was very, very well made. Okay, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Yeah, MechWarrior 2, I think. It was very sophisticated for its time and difficult, and I loved it. And now I played the last mech game I played single player was Fires of Rubicon, Armored Core, which is very good, by the way. I recommend it. It's from Software, from the people that made Elden Ring. And the last online game I played with mechs is Mecha Break, Chinese game. It's pretty much fun. It's nice, but it gets pretty old pretty quick. It's like a hero shooter, but with mechs. Come on. There we go. Well, I'm sure in space, if we ever evolve to a point that we can travel through space like nothing, we will encounter different humans from different similar planets or different creatures, and we will have, conflicts like Russia and America had in the Second World War, because at the end of the day, everybody will want resources, and more for us, less for you. Uh, Especially if the technology is so advanced that it requires exotic fuels, then I'm sure they won't be friendly. Who knows? Maybe they will make across. There will be a cross galaxy alliance with all humans and aliens. But human nature, and especially civilizations that build weapons, they are inclined to be violent. It's part of our nature to be violent. We enjoy violence. We, have Counter Strike and Street Fighter, and we have art that implies violence, like Taekwondo or martial art, or Kendo, katana wielding, stuff like that. We like that. Not necessarily to kill, but just a. Oh my god, these are gonna ruin my truck. Oh, get away, get away. Don't glitch on me. It's very unlikely that we get a civilization to develop in the same era as us. Who knows? Maybe there were already people that were, in the Stone Age on Venus before Venus got, the problem that it has right now, like very high temperature and global warming. Venus is like the king of greenhouse effect, green gas house effect. I don't know what's it called. You know what I'm saying. And it's for the universe. Our existence is so brief and so small in terms of time that it's very unlikely two civilizations will develop at the same rate and meet up. You'll win the lottery faster. Okay, this turn is gonna be a problem. Or not. Never mind. I was overthinking it with my feminine side. I'm so fucking tired. Oh my god. I wish I just could stay home and game. I don't care about anything else. To be honest, I'm done. I'm done with most things that are not giving me enjoyment. How can we connect from YouTube? There is no delay message or you on Discord. I do have the Discord. Just one moment. One moment, let me finish this. It's so hot, and I can't use the AC because it makes me cough and my back is completely out. And if I put AC on my back right now, I'm gonna lose my mind. Come on, don't stuck in here. There is no reason to slow down here, Mr. Zitz. You're supposed to be a heavy duty hauler. Yes. And then I got long logs for three times. Yeah. Well, I was hospitalized for 4 months. Then I was at home for a year. My boss uh, gave me salary and everything. Of course, I was insured, but you know, I just appreciate that my boss was so uh, understanding with everything, and I just overused my body until the point that it gave up. So when my immune system failed, that's pretty much it. Anything is a problem, even a cold is a problem. My liver was barely working when I got hospitalized, and right now I'm 181 meters tall and 64 kilograms. I'm, you know, the slim fit kind of guy, which more slim than fit. But when I was hospitalized, I had 44 kilograms at the same height. And I looked, if I was on the side of the road with my mouth open, dead, people would think that, oh, this guy has been dead for a while. This is how bad I look. But I don't worry about that, because if you add stress to your condition, you won't ever get healed. So it's meaningless to be stressed about it. You're gonna die anyway. It's just a matter of time. So I didn't stress about it. I don't have any kids. It's no problem. Really no problem. So I have no kids. I have no wife anymore, and it's a great feeling to not be responsible for anyone anymore. Because when I was on my deathbed and I felt like I was going to die, I just thought, you know what? Nobody deserves. Oh my God, it's over here. No, no, it's here. Medium logs. Why can't I place them? Eh? No, 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 not now, not now. I just untie it here. I'm gonna turn around again. So, I had a lot of fun in my life, so I can't complain about anything. After I divorced, I had about 12 years of party and fucking around, and I ended up with drugs. And I'm not talking about weed. I'm talking about heavy drugs. Weed is just an entry drug. It will push you with people that push you together with people that, you know, do all kinds of drugs. And when you're high, then, you know, it's not that bad. I'm gonna try it as well. I'm gonna try it again, and I'm gonna try it again. And you end up being hooked on it, and it slowly but surely kills you. Weed doesn't kill you. Whoever tells you weed is dangerous is retarded. Alcohol is like 100 times worse. So there's no need to be sorry for somebody that does this to himself, you know. That's the... oh, that trailer doesn't look very good. Just don't flip the fuck over, please. Ah, come on. Oh, thank you. I needed that bump. God, I wish I could drive this in real life. I would have a huge boner driving this. But not on the street, it just... on difficult terrain. What? What's going on? Why can't I deliver? Ah. Lol. Yeah, I was also happy baseline, but that's not the problem. It's not that I wasn't happy. It was that the entourage and the girlfriend I had in that time. And I'm not talking about weed. I did weed. I'm smoking weed for about 25 years, so I have no problem with that. But the cocaine, for example, and ecstasy, and other hard drugs that you get hooked on a very very bad. Uh, I'm just gonna leave this now. Detached trailer. I'm gonna I'm gonna delete this one. Don't need it anymore. So if you have a girlfriend that does cocaine and no, yeah, yeah, it mass, but yeah, it's much simpler than that. So if you have an entourage or a girlfriend or both that you usually do cocaine next to you, and every weekend they get high on it, and even your girlfriend has sex with you while she's high on cocaine, it gives you, you wonder, wow, she feels really good, it must be really nice. It's illegal for a reason though. And you try it, and once you try it, it's so good that it completely mind fucks you. It's just, I'm just gonna try it one more time. I'm not gonna get addicted. I'm not gonna get addicted. But you will get addicted, and you will tell yourself that you're not addicted, but you will require every evening, every time you have sex. It starts with weekends, and once you're hooked, it will be every freaking day, every day, and it's the fastest way to get yourself killed or being fat, being morbidly fat. Like in America, I saw fat women that I didn't understand where their ass and their tits and their belly was, because they look like a barrel full of shit, and it was just surprising to me that she had kids which were equally fat, and I don't think she was in her 50s, but I don't think she will get in her 50s for him, because the husband was and that's the funny thing. You can call out a guy. For instance, I'm a slim guy. I'm a slim guy. I'm a skinny guy. So people call out on me. Ah, you're skinny. You should do that. You should go to the gym. You should. No, I don't have to do anything. Thank you very much. I look great the way I look. I don't care. But this doesn't affect my health to the level. For instance, if I was in the hospital, where the fuck is this? If I was in the hospital, not weighing 44 kilograms but 150 kilograms, I'm not sure I would have survived. Because being fat already gives you a whole new set of problems besides the main problems that you had. So that's what I'm thinking. That it's just why would you do that to yourself? And I understand, oh, I want to eat, I'm a very needy guy, I need a woman, I want to fulfill all my pleasures, even in eating, and I get depressed and I want to eat ice cream, buckets of ice cream. But then they also want to be, worshipped, and no fat shaming. You shouldn't say anything. They put them on the New York Times cover. They put them on that sports magazine in America. They put some fat chick and said that it's liberating, and no, it's not liberating. It's just fat. Yeah, it's there is a reason all the models that present products or cars or new games are hot and barely dressed with skimpy outfits. You never put a 200 kilograms fat bitch next to a Ferrari and say, "Hey, this is the new Ferrari. How you like our fat bitch?" If she bends over the hood, she will shatter carbon fiber. It's not shame. If you want to be a fat person, you have the right to be a fat person. If you want to kill yourself, you have the right to kill yourself. There's no problem. But don't expect the rest of the world to comply to your needs, and like that fat woman that asked the airport staff to push her around in a wheelchair because she's too fat to walk. She's too fat to fit in a seat. How the fuck is that my problem? I mean, I'm going to work to the airport. I'm not gonna push around 200 kilograms of woman. What's wrong with you? I'm not gonna do that. And she didn't even ask a man to do it, which, you know, will be inherently stronger. She asked a woman at the airport, and it was a slim, small woman. Hey, push me around. I'm a fat bitch. Push me around. And I'm gonna sue Boeing for not having, you know, uh, barns inside the 787, 767. Sorry. No, it's fun because in Romania you can be blunt without being cancelled because people don't cancel around here. Okay, let's see. I have to finish this global map. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about the new long log trailer. And I have fat friends. I have a really close friend that is a friend for 30 years now, and he was always fat. He had a moment of losing weight, but usually he was fat, and he didn't complain. He had a girlfriend, he had sex, he had parties, he felt great, and everybody felt great. Uh, yeah, just one moment. Sorry, sorry. Oh boy. Oh my God. Listen to this. Where do I? Yeah, you can join this channel. It's just a private channel I have with a few friends. We're not really, you know, wow, having communities. I don't have communities, stuff like that. I'm too busy to have communities, to be honest. And and that's what I don't understand. I mean, they screamed at Stellar Blade because it wasn't realistic. The body wasn't realistic. Well, according to who? Because if you're surrounded by fat cows all day, of course, if a hot Korean woman shows up with a perfect body and face, then say, "Oh, she's not real. It's AI. It can't be." You're telling me is somebody out there that doesn't stuff their face with shit every day? Oh my God, it's amazing. Stupid fucking bitches. So retarded. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. I don't mind, you know, fat people. I don't have a problem with them. But once you start, you know, requesting, oh, I need a guy with a six-figure income. I need this. I need that. No, you need to lose weight. That's the first thing you need. Before anything, you need to lose weight. Oh, I need to order food soon enough. Hmm. Oh my God, Asian woman, yes. I don't know, it's something about Asian women that I would just let them do anything they want to me. Just, I don't care. Just, ah. Loading crane and saddle high. That's all? Oh, that's not very good. That's not. This is the new truck. Kinda sucks, to be honest. Fuck's sake. Yeah, saddle low is good. I think it's saddle low, this new trailer. Well, I had the only non-white woman. I dated Russian and I dated a Ukrainian. I had an Italian girlfriend. Italians are very nice. I don't know, she was nice, but I don't know if it's all Italians are that nice. But I dated a black woman in Bucharest for about 6 months or so, and double logging semi-trailer as medium log. And I can say that I never seen a smoother butt in my life. This black woman had the best ass I've ever seen in real life. It was just, you know, I couldn't last more than 5 minutes. If she would bend over on her fours on the doggy style, I wouldn't last 5 minutes. Even after 6 months, I wouldn't last 5 minutes. It's just I'm gonna lose my fucking mind and I just, and then back to white trash, white European trash. Uh, I love how they have demands. You know, like fat American women have demands, but the difference is Romanian women are actually beautiful, but they're so fucking poor that, you know, only if you have a car and your own place, even if it's a shitty apartment, you're already miles ahead of them. You're like a god. Well, that's it's not really about the only about the muscle, the skin on her ass. She had you know, a waist, thin waist, and then her hips were pronounced, and then the butt was really round. But even when you used to, you know, squeeze the flesh on her ass, it wouldn't, you know, wrinkle up. It was, I don't know how to explain. The skin was like rubber. It would never go bad. It would never wrinkle, only if you really insist. And firm. And I know I'm being quite graphic right now, but the pink flesh from her folds, in contrast with her black skin on the outside, is so fucking hot, bro. It's crazy. It's fucking insane. But I know it's just I really, really, really want to date an Asian. I've been wanting to date an Asian woman for, I don't know, 20 years. But there aren't many around here, and the ones that are around here are like, you know, I don't know how to tell you, from Wish. They're like, they don't really look that good. They're like the lesser version, like Vietnamese chicks, stuff like that. But I have seen a few Japanese women and South Korea women that are just ridiculous. I don't. Yes, flat butts, but the rest of her is just. And look at the girl from Stellar Blade. If you search on YouTube on Google, um, the model that played that Eve from Stellar Blade is based on, the real life girl, you will see that her proportions are almost perfect. I don't know if it's plastic surgery or not, but she looks amazing. She looks out of this world. And there are a few Japanese models that I can't really tell you their names because I can barely remember the name of my favorite voice actor from Japan, which is Yuri Ishikawa, but I cannot remember her name. They look like they are made in 3D Studio Max, like they are rendered in real life. It's like a glitch in the Matrix. Yeah, I would growl all day and have their feet in my mouth. I would do anything for them. For at least three to 4 months, I would do anything for them. You know, until it goes stale. Until even Jerry got sick from the same hole. And I don't wanna look like a perv. I am a perv, but I don't wanna look like, you know, the ultimate piece of shit. But I do like their thinking. I've spoken with a few Asian women, and I like the way they talk. I like the way they think. They're so open and kind, and I think their kindness is just, it's too much. I mean, people would take advantage of that. So when you meet a few Russian women in your life, you will run back to your Asian women immediately. Even if the Russian woman, you know, is like a goddess in bed and fucks your brains out, which is most likely, uh, you will not be able to control that thing. You need to go back to your Asian. And it's not even about control. It's about you not being controlled. They are very, very. If if crazy bitch was a definition in the dictionary, it would have a picture with a Russian woman. But on the other side, as far as I've spoken to them, yes, they appreciate their man. They appreciate hard work. They are hardworking themselves. They are very clean, as far as I can see. I met a few of them. They don't really. They are not really my type, but I'd like to talk to them. So, the values that an Asian woman usually gives you in terms of family, and even a black woman. I'm not talking about the New Jersey kind of black woman. I'm talking about an African woman. Uh, those have very good core values for their families. Well, that's the problem with Russian women. They are traditional, and they're gonna blow your brains out if you're not traditional back. You need to be very traditional. They won't have it. You can't argue with a Russian woman. You just end up in a hospital or dead. I mean, my ex Russian punched my mouth while I was talking to her, and it wasn't a friendly punch. It broke my lip, and I didn't know what to do because I was so surprised that in that moment I wanted to rip her head off, but I'm not gonna do that, of course. And I was stunned. I was never hit in my face before. I was hit in the face by guys, but I had my share of brawls in high school, but I was never hit in the mouth while I was explaining to my girlfriend why this relationship doesn't work. And the way she dominates you is just crazy. And you let her dominate you, believe me. Once you get a Russian woman to do you a blowjob or fuck you, it's just you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna bend the fuck over and shut up and say, "Oh, okay, honey, no problem. We're gonna fuck tonight." Yes, okay, great. That's all I'm looking forward to. So, what? Where the wrong logs? Where? Don't tell me there's all the way back. No way. Oh my god, I need to go back. I need to go back. Fucking hey, John. Yeah, I was talking too much. A problem in society is the conflict between feminists and traditional. Some women want to cherry pick the best of both. Uh, let me tell you something about feminism. Feminism works only for women that are lonely. Women that have like 11 cats waiting for them. They hate men because their ex chose the PlayStation over her. And they do anything in their power to ruin relationships for the rest of the world. No woman, this is not feminine behavior from the Russian, perhaps she was challenging you to wear the pants. No, it wasn't a challenge. It was manifesting her bipolar. You see, Russian women don't believe they are bipolar, even if they are. 1 minute she loves you, the next minute she tries to kill you, and just the power and the will they have is just crazy. So back to feminism. I don't think feminism the meaning of feminism has been lost for a while. Feminism used to advocate for female rights to vote, to have equal rights with men in terms of social security and jobs, which I find fair. Of course, a woman and a guy in this modern society have the same needs. Maybe women have more needs than men. They both drive now. They both have apartments. They both have houses. They need to maintain. Uh, there's unfortunately there is a lot of single mothers recently. They always been, but recently there's a lot of divorces, and women end up with their kids milking their dads for child support. But that's a different story. What feminism, modern feminism, does is trying to belittle the males, and it's kind of unfair because 100 and maybe 200 years ago, no, 100 years ago is enough to go back in time and see who fought the First World War. Men did. Who fought the Second World War? Men did. Who built countries and bridges? The San Francisco Bridge, New York City, Empire State Building, the Eiffel Tower. Everything, every single stone in this society is mostly built by men. And it's not fair because in the past feminism used to be just to fight for women's rights. Now they're shitting on men and say that they don't need them anymore. All men are trash. They used to say that, by the way. But they only say that now when you can, order your food from your phone, uh, press a button and heat up your apartment, press a button to start your car. You had to. There were the first cars when you had to, uh, manually start them with a I don't know what that was, a winch, some kind of winch that will almost kill you if you're not careful. But once the society evolved to a point that you don't need physical strength or bravery to exist, now women shit on us. It's the late the yeah, everything is already built, and I find this the ultimate betrayal. So you hid behind my back the entire history of humankind. We fought dinosaurs, we fought saber-toothed tigers, we fought other tribes, we protected you for millions of years, and we built you a city where you can be, just live by yourself without protection. We have police if you have a problem. We have, people that on the street that will help you. We have cars that will drive you. We have cars that drive themselves. Uh, we can help you in any way. And now that we gave you everything, you turn around and stab us in the back. Oh, how nice. How feminine of you. Yes, but they still but they will still need men engineers to develop it. Yes, but the feminists don't know that because feminists spend all their time on Blue Sky and Twitter and complain about everything. Oh my god, the women in gaming are too hot. Somebody stop them. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to have fun. You're not allowed to have a boner. It needs to be a boner that it's from a blue-haired whale. And I don't know why feminists, most of them look like shit. It's not very feminine. They don't look very feminine. They look like pigs, blue-haired pigs, screeching at everything that's a hourglass woman, a sexy woman. Yeah, it's just and they are fat, but they're not fat like she's chunky, she has huge tits and a huge ass, and she's fuckable. No, she's fat in all the wrong places. No titty, no ass, but big belly and huge fucking hips. And fat backs. Yes, and 13 chins and 8 stomachs, so she can have butterflies in all of them when you whisper her something. Oh my god. It's just even you have in Australia. I just remembered. You have in Australia a retarded group of women, or a group of retarded women, called Collective Shout, that started a movement on Steam to remove not safe for work content or I don't know sexual content Basically telling everybody what to enjoy or not. The self-entitlement, and I'm sure this is from people that don't even play video games. They don't even care about that. They just saw that and said, you know what, I want to mess with that. I want to ruin their fun. It's not normal. Just because a group of women are abstinent and haven't seen a dick for 10 years, that doesn't mean the rest of the world needs to comply with them. Just buy a dildo. Leave Steam alone and just buy a dildo. Buy yourself a green goblin and shove it down your cervix and shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. But apparently Visa and MasterCard cares. Imagine that. Two companies that facilitate drug cartels and let every fucking criminal in the world have cards and wealth on their accounts. But somehow Steam is not okay because there are some pixelated titties bouncing around. That's not good for them. But OnlyFans, no problem. Hey, you want to start an account on Visa or MasterCard and OnlyFans so you can ruin your entire social life for a couple of $1,000s? Yeah, with the fucking Gamergate. And oh, look, my brother just found a picture of me with my fold spread and a dildo up my ass. I hope he brings it up to the family dinner. I mean, it's good that Mastercard is has so high morals. Piece of shit company. Holy shit! I am sick to see corporate garbage pretending to have any kind of value. Go fuck yourself. Even these fucking rich CEOs blowing a 17-year-old prostitute and then going on Twitter to have we love all black people and no hentais. Shut the fuck up. Who knows what the fuck they're doing in their private meetings with underage teens? Like, remember Blizzard and their breast milk? The last company I expected any kind of trouble from them in the 90s and the early 2000s. Then suddenly, when they had this massive success with World of Warcraft, the owners couldn't just help them say, I need some breast milk now that I'm rich. You better provide me some breast milk. What the fuck? Money ruins people. Too much money, too much time in the sun. It's pathetic. Go sleep, bro. It's here in Romania. It's 7:20 p.m. Yeah, good talking. Be sure to drop a line on the Discord. We can talk on voice when you have time. But the time difference between us will be, kind of obvious. All the best. Take care, bro. Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll check it out soon. You have a good night's sleep and a productive Monday. Zi, m-ai sunat. Vorbeam cu cineva, zi. La ora asta, sigur nu. E 7:30, eu mă duc la lucru mâine, mă. Eu nu știu cine ți-a spus. Da, păi mi se pare normal ca cineva să știe că am eu concediu. Eu nu știu că am concediu, dar cineva știe că am concediu. Eu nu știu cine pula mea vorbește în locul meu, dar trebuie să țină pizda aia de gură. Da, știi ea? Nu e așa. Hai că ne auzim. Mă joc SnowRunner. Bă, nu mă interesează tu, nu înțelegi că nu-mi place, nu vreau să mă duc acolo, nu. No, să fii sănătos, distracție. Da. Nu are nicio treabă cu social, man. Dacă cineva nu are chef să facă ceva, ai tu chef să... Hai să jucăm SnowRunner, vrei, nu vrei, no bun, altceva. Deci că s-a obosit, frate, nu mai am 25 de ani, lasă-mă în pula mea cu poveștile astea. Vino pe la mine, bă, la 10-11 să vedem. De unde dracu să știu eu, boss? Așa să vedem, deci pot să mă duc pe aici. A, bine, hai că mă joc, frate, hai că ne auzim. No, ceau. Plictisiți în pula mea. Ești plictisit, frate. Urăsc bărbat plictisiți, wow. Eu nu mă ajung 24 de ore din 24 să fac ce am eu chef. Fără să bat pe nimeni la cap. Ăștia au nevoie veșnic să fie cineva cu dești un free play în cur. Numai ce scapă de nevastă și, oh, repede, bă, ce faci? Deci că e în pârnaie în pula mea, acum o ieșit. Fac stânga aici sau mă duc până? Nu, fac stânga. Asta e deschis, bun. Penibil. Put oameni la cap, frate. Lasă-mă dracu în pace, ești prost. Cum să nu vii? Că nu vin, că n-am chef. Obosit, am alte chestii de făcut, nu-mi place să stau degeaba să ascult aceeași povești de căcat și aceeași idei de doi bani care nu fac un leu. Și becăitul după, wow, uite pe asta pe Instagram, ce bună e, ce nu știu ce, da. Pe lângă faptul că șanse mari să nu fie chiar așa de bună cum arată, omul care se uite și în sură. Eu nu sunt surat, dar eu nu mă uit. Eu nu mi-am deschis Facebook-ul și Instagram-ul de... Deci în afară de servici, de ani de zile n-am mai intrat pe Facebook sau pe Instagram să vorbesc cu cineva nou, decât să răspund la cineva sau să dau un share. Se pare absolut degeaba să socializezi cu străini pe social media. Absolut. Waste of time. Oamenii care rezonează cu tine o să ajungă inevitabil în compania ta, într-un fel sau în altul. E atracția universală. Și mințile care se gândesc la fel și reacționează la fel, de obicei se înghit una pe alta. Sau, da, diferit, cum zici, poate să fie diferit, dar să fie o toleranță între ei în care ambele persoane să poată discuta liber orice problemă, fără băi, bă, culă, pun în masă, flip table și te fute Dumnezeu de curvă. Asta e o vârstă la care depășești chestiile astea ca bărbat. Că la 20 de ani faci așa, e ok. Nu e ok, dar e de înțeles. Și ele fac niște căcaturi la 20-21 de ani. Sunt care fac la 17-18 ani. Are un prieten de-a meu, o fată, 17 ani. Nu știu ce am vrut să-i arăt pe Facebook. El nu-i cu Facebook-ul, nu prea stă pe el. Și au găsit-o pe Pisa, pe Facebook, cu curul gol aproape. Îți dai seama ce bine i-o picat la om. Îți zici, oh, uite, ce-i, asta e, uite, ia-i, bă, da, oh. Și eu zice, bă, dar chiar nu lași nimic imaginației, chiar așa vrei să oferi tot dintr-o poză la toată lumea? Nu e nimic misterios despre tine, ți-am văzut tot, cur, picioare, coapse, ai peste sfârc acolo niște material și peste piți de 2 mm de... I don't complain, adică eu n-am nicio problemă, îmi place să mă uit la femei, dar nu la 17 ani fost. Așteaptă dracu, știu, până la 25, 26, când devii proper. Nu știu de ce lasă Instagram-ul minore să pozeze așa ceva. Da, un an diferență în plus sau în minus, pută pule. Uite-te la OnlyFans ce drame produce toate se șterg la lacrimi cu sute de dolari. După, bineînțeles, după ce, ca și proasta aia care s-a făcut cu 100 de bărbați. La pula numărul 2, 3, 5, 12, 25, 34, 55, 70, 73, 93, 94, 97 și 99 și 100, nu au avut nicio problemă. O luat pulă fără nicio problemă. Și nici când o luat banii, nu au avut nicio problemă. O luat banii, o zâmbit și o plecat. Doar când nu au primit suficientă atenție, au început cu mi-am distrus viața, bărbații sunt niște gunoaie. Cum pula mea suntem noi gunoaie că tu ți oferi să fut 100 de bărbați? Știi bine că bărbații fut cam orice desface picioarele, gen. Adică nu suntem chiar așa de pretențioși când e vorba numai de ciondrănit. De obicei alea mai nasoale fac performanțe mai bune, că n-au de ales. Dar de acolo până la noi suntem de vină, e foarte, foarte lung drumul. Tu ești de vină, fă. Nu trebuia să te pui capră. Nu trebuia să iei banii, dacă sunt bani făcuți din traumă. Cum îi poți cheltui? Nu mai multă traumă. Nu, când e vorba de bani, e tot ok. Aia îmi place. E ca și când ești un bărbat mediocru din aspect și din bani, plus minus cum sunt eu, și mai mult minus. Și știi, Moira are set de pretenții cu tine și ficul. Dar odată ce devii milionar sau ești blindat și te caută zilnic 14 modele pe Instagram să te sugă de fața cu ea, brusc ești ursulețul, cel mai bun. Wow! Wow! Ai mulți bani acum? Da, wow! Eu de când te-am cunoscut eram îndrăgostit de tine, ești prost? Sper că ești prost, că am nevoie de bani. Dar de obicei cine își face banii... Bă... Loading platform pe dracu. Numai una pot să pun. Numai una. Oh, boy. Well, that's not very good. Bă, îmi trebuie 3 camioane să mă duc până acolo. Nu ar putea face și ăștia un trailer dublu. Bun. Pe cine luăm la 11 metri? Care vreți să duceți? Leg. Bă, hai să iau Plado, stai așa. Dracu, Plado. Cum a fost? Și aici a fost cald, frate. Credeai că aici a venit primăvara? Nu știu. Comand ceva de la Mac sau de la Savory și just be done with it. Am blocat ieri de spate, n-am putut să dorm, n-am putut să mă joc, nu să fac nimic. Yoshi. Dar ce caut aici? Băi, nene. Asta e de long logs. A fost ceva timp de când am dus logs. Dar atâtea misiuni de căcat au băgat care nu mă interesează. Pe mine mă interesează heavy delivery. Mai multe tone. Testăm gunoaiele astea. Bine, dar nu primești așa, bă, stai puțin, că tu nu o să le iei astea de la început. Că vrei să te joci, de ce nu? Așa e jos. Ai 4 hărți de început care îți garantez că nu le termini săptămâna asta. Nici săptămâna viitoare. E foarte mult de descoperit, foarte mult de umblat. Terenul, de exemplu, în Canada, în Yukon, nu știu dacă o să termin Yukonul. Dacă nu îți faci camioanele blană, nu... N-ai ce căuta în Canada. Asta ce haine îți are pladul ăsta. Mi-am cumpărat ieri No Man's Sky cu 20 de euro. Au băgat ceva update și nu mai am chef să mă joc așa manevră, nu. No, da, frate. Da, pula mea, eu zic că merită, că și când am jucat piratat am băgat câteva ore în el, nu mai țin minte din el mare brânză, că m-am plimbat foarte mult, făcut niște baze. Dar acum au băgat curvetul și o navă fucking huge de fleet și no, e foarte șmecher făcut. Cred că e mult peste Elite Dangerous și peste Starship Citizen, nu știu dacă e un joc care mi-l permit. N-am să dau pe o navă 300 de euro din alea, not my... Da, prefer să, dacă te dau bani pe o navă să aibă plin de waifus în el. Aibă 12 waifus care... Șchica! Te-ți dau drumul ăsta, stai. Puneți căștile când dau drumul la documentar.
Because we see this method of communication in all great apes today. Unlike vocalizations, which in many animals are instinctual, ape gestures are learned and intentional. These are not random movements. They follow patterns and can be used across different social situations. For example, an arm raise means let's play, and a beckoning gesture means come closer. Indeed, chimpanzees and bonobos even share some common gestures. A research team studied a group of chimpanzees in Uganda and found that these gestures are understood at a faster rate than human speech. On average, chimp gestures received a response within 120 milliseconds. The speed of human conversation is slower. Conversational turn-taking averages 200 milliseconds between responses. Gesture, then, is clearly a very efficient and useful communication tool. But the question is it efficient enough so that it could have been the first step towards true language? This is an idea that has its roots in the late 19th century with the German psychologist Wilhelm Wundt. Wundt set up the first psychology lab at the University of Leipzig, finally making psychology its own separate scientific field. Believing that mental processes could be broken down into basic parts, like chemistry breaks down substances or a recipe into steps, Wundt suggested that human language started with gestures before spoken words developed. Indeed, he saw gestures as direct manifestations of thought, writing that, for example, pointing was not only the simplest, but also the most primary gesture in the effort to communicate. Although Wundt's ideas were not based on experimental data, simply observations of use of gesture in primates and its seemingly universal use across human cultures, his ideas were prescient and foreshadowed later research in cognitive science and anthropology. Indeed, there are a huge number of examples of apes in captivity using gesture to communicate their needs, particularly apes who have been raised among humans. Like Washoe, a female chimpanzee raised by researchers Alan and Beatrix Gardner. They taught her over 250 signs, but what surprised researchers was the way that she, and other chimps that she lived with, used them creatively in displaying what some interpret as swearing. taught the sign for dirty to describe soiled objects during toilet training, Washoe repurposed it as an insult. When frustrated with a caretaker, she signed Dirty Roger, and she was seen signing Dirty Monkey towards a macaque that annoyed her. This behavior mirrored human swearing, adapting a word with negative connotations into an emotional expression, and so perhaps swearing through gesture may have preceded any of our modern, elaborate swear words. But while a lot of evidence comes from the study of great apes, the connection between gestures and speech is also reflected in the brain. Broca's area, a key region for speech production, is not just activated by speech, but also during hand movements. Although, while the gesture-first hypothesis remains influential, many modern linguists and anthropologists believe the origin of language lay in a mixture of gesture, vocalization, and facial expressions, pre-language communication involving them all. Instead of a strict transition from gesture to speech, modern research suggests a gradual interplay between multiple forms of expression, with spoken language ultimately becoming dominant. And so what would Australopithecus afarensis have been capable of? To begin with, we know from fossil evidence and the famous Lucy footprints that Australopithecus afarensis was bipedal, meaning their hands were free for more consistent, complex gesturing. We also know that they had larger brains than modern apes, and endocasts show evidence that they had a modern, human-like Broca's area. Indeed, one of the best-known fossils, the tongue child, provides insight into early brain reorganization related to communication. The tongue child is a 2.8 million-year-old Australopithecus africanus fossil discovered in 1924, and its well-preserved skull has been heavily studied. Modern digital reconstruction shows an enlarged Broca's area compared to other primates, suggesting a higher level of communication ability. As before, the inventor is preparing to ask his question. Can his translation device be used to ask Australopithecus afarensis how to cook an egg? He wades through a patch of grass in a wide plain of East Africa, surrounded by dry heat and scattered trees. Nearby, a small group of Australopithecus afarensis watches warily. Finally, the inventor speaks, but the translator beats ineffectually. He pauses, thinks, and then tries something else. He mimes cracking the egg against a rock, then pretends to eat. The male Australopithecus steps forward, letting out a series of short, rhythmic grunts interspersed with hand motions. His hands mimic the shape of an egg, then a movement that might mean breaking or opening. He points at the inventor, then at himself. The inventor sets his translator to video capture.
No way.
There is a loud beep, and the translation device gives its results. Break egg. Eat egg. The male grabs the egg from the inventor's hands, then smashes it open against a rock. He lifts it to his mouth and gulps it down whole. No fire here, no boiling or frying. They have communicated. Is this the first language? And so while Australopithecus afarensis was not capable of true language or any developed vocal communication much more advanced than our primate cousins, the basic structures of communication, pattern signals, shared meanings and learned gestures were likely already in place. Indeed, there is a strong argument that the ability to produce intentional gestures and vocalizations that laid the groundwork for human speech were here, the roots of humanity's communication journey. And so as the inventor sits back and watches his new Australopithecus friend licking the last remnants of raw egg from his fingers, the cogs of his mind turn. If it works on gestures and grunts, just how far back can he test this device? In the dense, moonlit forests of Southeast Asia, the tarsier, a small, wide-eyed primate, sits in a hole in a tree. You might pass by a tarsier and imagine it to be a silent creature, but this is not the case. Tarsiers engage in a form of communication we are not privy to. They emit ultrasonic calls, frequencies so high that they evade the hearing range of not just humans, but more importantly, the hearing of their predators and competitors. Unlike the shrieks of other nocturnal creatures, the tarsier's vocalizations cut through the thick jungle air unheard by any other creature, except their own kind. These high-pitched calls serve as both social signals and territorial warnings, allowing tarsiers to coordinate movements, locate mates, and defend their dominion without attracting unwanted attention. Evolution has fine-tuned this adaptation, granting them a near-exclusive auditory channel amid a cacophony of jungle noises. Combined with their acute night vision and spring-loaded limbs, their ultrasonic speech makes them both efficient hunters and elusive prey. In their own acoustic world, they whisper secrets no other species can hear. We know mammals communicate in a variety of ways, from the mournful songs of whales to the warning calls of meerkats. Their vocalizations, body language, and even scent marking demonstrate rich forms of non-verbal signaling that establish social structure, convey danger, and possibly even communicate emotions. Birds, too, produce complex songs, with regional dialects and learned vocal patterns, whereas reptiles and amphibians use body postures, color changes, and vibrations to signal territory or court mates. And so logically, if we can see signs of communication in such a variety of organisms, it must surely have a truly ancient start. So where does communication really begin? We have journeyed from Homo sapiens, who had a basic language with words and perhaps some syntax, through to the world of Australopithecus afarensis over 3 million years ago, where gesture likely played a far more dominant role in communication. But what do we consider communication? The answer partly depends on how we define it. If communication is simply the exchange of meaningful information between entities, then it arguably starts with life itself, embedded in the very chemistry that led to evolution. So how far back could the inventor's device pick up and interpret communication? Let's find out. Our first stop will be a short one, to visit Ardipithecus ramidus, who lived over 4 million years ago and whose fossilized remains have been found in Ethiopia. There are a few fossils to study, but some scientists have suggested that this ancestor's bipedal, but not fully erect, posture, combined with changes in craniological morphology, such as reduced facial and jaw length, could have increased vocal ability. Some have even speculated that this hominin might have produced musical, song-like calls. But this is highly contested. But given that Ardipithecus lived 1 million years before the time of Salam and her hyoid bone, it's hard to imagine that it had any vocal abilities that exceed those of modern, non-human apes. So it's likely the species the inventor finds is one of budding potential rather than definitive progress. Ardipithecus's erect posture may have left it with a larger degree of cervical lordosis or neck curvature than our chimpanzee cousins. This could perhaps have led to increased mobility of the larynx, and thus increased capacity to modulate vocalizations, or maybe this change in our ancestors' morphology was simply a potential for vocal development, developed by later hominins. Given the current fossil record, it's perhaps most likely that the inventor finds a creature standing more or less upright and looking back at him, appearing to be in a perfect position to respond and communicate further, but whose voice and meanings are not yet too dissimilar from other apes. Perhaps the device would register gestures towards the egg, similar to those of a chimpanzee, being directed by a brain of around chimpanzee size. And so between Australopithecus and now Ardipithecus, the inventor appears to have pushed further back than any truly human-like communication. But many millions of years of evolutionary history still await his exploration. If gestures did indeed exist before vocalizations, what came before them? 55 million years ago. Here, he encounters early primate-like mammals, the dapiforms. These small, tree-dwelling creatures live in a world dominated by warm, dense forests stretching across what is now North America, Europe, and Asia. They are some of the earliest members of the primate lineage. Fossil evidence reveals that these creatures had well-developed bony ear structures, a telltale sign of higher levels of auditory sensitivity. This likely means that sound played a crucial role in their survival, whether in detecting predators rustling in the underbrush or in communicating with one another through high-pitched calls. When the inventor takes out his device, he thinks it's broken at first, as no sound comes from its speaker. But then he sees a return call, registering on the device as lines and squiggles. There is a reply from somewhere in the jungle, one he cannot hear without help. A seemingly silent creature given, for a moment, a chance to be heard by human ears. The inventor seeks these early primates for hours, but can never get close enough. He must find something less elusive, larger perhaps. So, for the next part of his adventure, he's going Jurassic. Can he communicate with dinosaurs?
Da, they are stepped the dinosaur. T-Rex is very eager to chat. After he eats you up, of course.
This far back in time, dinosaurs roamed the planet for many millions of years, between 245 million to 66 million years ago. It becomes much harder to piece together answers. We have a good number of dinosaur fossils, but soft tissue does not last buried deep in
I
the
don't
earth.
speak to my food.
However, we can study their bones and try our best to guess at how they made their way through the world. Dinosaurs, of course, are a broad church, and through their many millennia of dominance, they changed and evolved. Fossil evidence does suggest some hadrosaurs had elaborate resonating chambers in their skulls, which may have allowed them to produce deep, resonant calls for long-distance communication. Similarly, large dinosaurs, like sauropods, could have used low-frequency rumbles, much like modern elephants, to signal over vast distances. And theropods, the ancestors of birds, probably didn't sound much like birds at all. They might have vocalized using growls, similar to crocodilian bellows. However, much of this remains speculative, based on comparisons with their closest living relatives, birds and reptiles. Beyond sound, however, we are reasonably sure that visual communication was likely crucial to many dinosaurs. We know some species had elaborate crests, frills or feathers like Triceratops, and we can guess that these would have been used much like some birds use their own adornments today, as displays of courtship, dominance, or warning signals. We also think that some dinosaurs had colourful plumage. We've seen evidence in smaller theropods, having found fossilized melanosomes, tiny pigment-containing organelles found inside cells responsible for coloration in animals. If they had colour, perhaps that colour had a purpose. And so when the inventor arrives at our 67-million-year-old planet, he is quick to set up his translation device. He takes stock, looking about a dense and tropical jungle, the humidity and heat almost unbearable. But thankfully, it does not take long to prepare. He twists some knobs, presses some buttons, and from the device comes a deep, resonant, low-frequency sound, like a bellow or the low pitch of a bassoon. For a moment, there is silence, and then all at once, a similar sound, but much louder, making the trees shiver. The inventor checks the device and peers into the foliage. Studies of T-Rex skull structure suggest it lacked a complex vocal apparatus like a songbird, meaning it's more likely to have made closed-mouth vocalizations, similar to doves or ostriches, though much, much louder. Catching his breath, the inventor, safe in his time machine, decides that is enough of the age of reptiles. And so he decides on somewhere a little less frightening, but only just. It is Earth 300 million years ago. Pre-dinosaurs, this is a time dominated by early insects. Giant, millipede-like creatures and scorpions scuttle about unimpeded by mammals or even reptiles. Like their descendants, these arthropods probably communicated using a mixture of chemical, visual, tactile, and vibrational signaling. They might have relied on pheromones to mark territory, attract mates, or warn of danger, much like ants laying scent trails. Indeed, many modern arthropods use substrate vibrations to communicate, including crickets, who produce sound by rubbing their wings, and spiders, who sense vibrations in their webs. The inventor stumbles through this new jungle towards a sound like a million fingernail scratches on cardboard. The cacophony of noises fills the thick, hot air. A group of ancient, cricket-like insects is assembled on tree trunks, on the ground, on the leaves. He starts up his translation machine, but instead of a sound, it provides instructions. The inventor frowns, but he does follow along. He takes the machine and starts rubbing it intensely against a tree. It elicits a scratchy vibrato, and all at once, the cricket-like creatures rise into the air as one giant swarm, beating their translucent wings in unison, and fly off into the sky. Where else is there to go? The inventor wonders. Surely this must be the limit of all communication. Unless there is one final stop on the journey. To the very beginning, more than 3.5 billion years ago, the dawn of life. The very first unicellular organisms roil and roll in the primordial soup. The inventor cannot believe he will find any kind of communication here. And yet, even in these very first known life forms, bacteria, there is still an exchange of information. Bacteria today use quorum sensing, a release and detection of signaling molecules, which allow them to coordinate behaviors like colony formation, biofilm production, or even collective attacks on host organisms. And quorum sensing is thought to be incredibly ancient. If we consider this to be the most rudimentary form of interaction as communication, then we could argue that communication predates even multicellular life. And so finally, the inventor wades into a deep pool of water, populated by simple organic compounds and bacteria. It is unclear if the device is influencing the single-cellular organisms, but the inventor believes he is finally here, at the start, the beginning of communication. This ability to share, to coordinate, to cooperate is integral to all existence. From the bubbling chaos of the primordial soup to the subtle dance of human conversation, communication has always been a survival tool. First for cells, then for species, and finally for civilizations. What began as chemical whispers between single-celled organisms evolved into the hand signals of early hominins, and eventually the intricate languages, both vocal and silent, that shape our world today. And yet despite these cultural leaps, the essence of communication remains the same. The need to connect, to share, to understand.
Share
From
and
the
subscribe.
first flicker of life to this very moment,
This is what this has
every
become.
great leap forward has started with a simple exchange. One message sent, and crucially, one received. You've been watching the entire history of humankind. Don't forget to follow the link or the QR code to get a 14-day free trial from our sponsor today, MyHeritage. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Like pretty cool heritage, like the data ancestors. Deși poate să fie bullshit, mă rog.
Echo out into the darkness,
Random shit
amplified
generated
by
with
the
AI.
acoustics of
Yeah,
the
sure, your
limestone
grandfather
cave
was like a
walls.
superhero.
Strange,
kinda thing,
high-pitched
you know,
warbles and shrill, uncanny
This bay?
laughter resonate into the night over the sound of the pouring monsoonal rain. The call makers aren't worried about being discovered. Here, 400,000 years ago and a few miles outside of what will one day be called Beijing, they are masters of the world around them. This is Zhoukoudian, which translates to Dragon Bone Cave for its abundance of preserved Pleistocene material, horses, deer, rhinos, and humans, or at least our ancestors. Homo erectus was perhaps one of our most accomplished predecessors. They walked upright, used tools, and had brains roughly the size of our own. And here, in the limestone caves of China, the bones of over 40 individuals of this enterprising hominin were laid to rest. But they record a perhaps unexpected, but not uncommon story of our history. Far from complete, these bones are fragments. Not buried, they were scattered across the cave floor. Long bone shards bear deep pits and scratches, and while there are at least 5 skull caps, none of the skulls bear faces. First, these marks were interpreted as signs of cannibalism. Brains are full of energy-rich fat, and the shattered limbs are consistent with something trying to access similarly rich bone marrow. But slowly, researchers realized that far from being the errant slices of stone knives, these marks were made by teeth. Teeth capable of crunching through bone, of ripping off faces. These were the marks made by Pachycrocuta brevirostris, the giant, short-faced hyena. A 1.5-meter tall brute, this hyena was a deadly predator throughout the Pleistocene, and much like its modern cousins, Pachycrocuta was more than capable of consuming bones whole. Hyenas often swallow bone completely in their haste to access the marrow. Once a prey item has been dragged home to enjoy, they rip off the faces to access the brains. Then they turn to the bone marrow, snapping bone in their powerful jaws. And this consumption of bone has an unusual side effect. Their waste is completely white, full of excess calcium. Zhoukoudian's bones match this pattern with astonishing precision. Though hominins are found at this site from 700,000 years ago to 230,000 years ago, their bones are more homage to the incredible power and ferocity of ancestral hyenas than to the resourcefulness of our ancestors. And Zhoukoudian is not alone. Across Eurasia, this story is repeated. In most cases, our ancestors didn't win, and caves were more likely to ring loudly with the shrill cackles of hyena pack than with the triumphant laughter of hominins. In fact, for most of our existence, we have been just as likely to be prey as predator. So how exactly did our ancestors move up the food chain, and who attempted to stop us as we did? It has not always been an easy journey, and there have been surprising missteps along the way. A 150 years ago, a small boy named John Wade walked the streets of London, not too far from the docks on the Thames. It was a busy day, with recent arrivals of ships from the East Indies. Dock hands were unloading their curious fare, and today's cargo was more interesting than most. A set of wild animals, including a full-grown Bengal tiger in a wooden crate. Like many of the passers-by, John watched with great curiosity as the tiger was unloaded and moved towards its new living quarters, an iron-barred cage in the menagerie of Charles Jamrach. The tiger, however, was not so complacent. As the animal was being guided into its new home, it pushed out violently with its back legs and succeeded in dislodging the crate just enough to slide through the gap, dashing out of the menagerie and into the yard. For the 9-year-old John, it was too great an opportunity to miss. He reached out to pet the tiger and drew the cat's attention. Before John could pull back, the 200-kilogram tiger was on him. Massive teeth closed about his head, and the tiger began to drag him down the street. It is all too easy to lose our sense of danger when we think of ourselves masters of the world around us. But we, too, are part of the food chain. Consistent roles are assigned to organisms across the ecosystems of the Earth. Herbivores eat plants, carnivores and omnivores eat herbivores, and then at the very top are the apex predators, animals who are feared more than they fear others. This is where humans tend to sit, and perhaps this is what makes us cocky. History and prehistory shows our roles can be reversed far faster than we expect. Young John Wade was lucky. His reminder wasn't lethal. The menagerie owner raced out into the street and beat the tiger across the head with a crowbar until it released the boy. He survived, though not unmarked. His father reported that even once the bite marks had healed, John continued to suffer nightmares and gained a reputation for biting children at school. Other tiger victims have not been so lucky. Indeed, throughout history, tigers have proven quite deadly. Nearly 400,000 people died from tiger attacks from 1800 to 2009 in Southeast Asia. Even today, tigers in the Sundarbans between India and Bangladesh kill 50 to 60 people per year. Even a single tiger can do incredible damage, like the Champawat tiger, which killed over 400 people over 4 years in the early 1900s in Nepal and India. And so while we may be top of the food chain, that doesn't mean we don't still share that position with others. Our position along that chain is called our trophic level, where higher numbers mean that you have fewer things likely to eat you. At the base of this food web are autotrophs, any organism that can make a living from inorganic substances like rocks and carbon dioxide. These include plants, but there are also bacteria and algae that can survive this way. The name autotroph means self-nourishing. Typical autotrophs turn sunlight into sugars, though others prefer a less palatable diet of hydrogen sulfide or methane. The next rung up the chain is reliant on autotrophs. These are the heterotrophs, a word that means other nutrition. Humans, whether omnivorous or herbivorous, are all heterotrophic. Indeed, all animals are heterotrophs as we gain our nutrients from eating things like plants or other animals. Carnivore, omnivore, or herbivore, all are heterotrophs. Today's ecosystem has enough complex interactions between heterotrophs that there are 3 to 4 different distinct levels. Though, geologically speaking, these complex chains of trophic levels are relatively new. 3 billion years ago, life was less complicated. Autotrophic bacteria ruled the world, many making stacked layers of calcium carbonate as they built upwards towards the sunlight they digested. Rocks from this time period are rippling horizons of these bacteria-secreted rocks known as stromatolites. With no predators, these bacteria lived a presumably peaceful life. Their only competition are their autotrophs. Their only challenge, harvesting enough sunlight to live, grow, and make the next generation. But this agrarian world couldn't last. Not when ingesting another organism takes so much less effort and energy than creating your sugars yourself. Indeed, we can see the disruption before the predators themselves even fossilized. We, too, still bear the scars of those first heterotrophs deep in our cellular structure. All living animals, plants, and fungi are eukaryotes, meaning we are built out of a complex cell that houses our genetic material in a distinct portion of the cell instead of loosely throughout, as it is in bacteria. In fact, many pieces of our cells are stored away in distinct membranes, like the mitochondria, which creates the energy that powers our cells. That mitochondria is an example of failed predation. At some point in our history, an ancestral cell swallowed and then failed to digest another cell. Left still living, that consumed cell became our mitochondria. In plants, it happened a second time with an autotrophic bacteria which became the first chloroplast, now embedded in the cells of photosynthesizing plants. And so a major sign of predation is increased complexity. Instead of living as isolated cells or perfectly replicated colonies, our heterotrophic ancestors began to form multicellular organisms. Each cell became responsible for certain biological tasks instead of others, creating a more efficient organism capable of growing larger and moving more quickly. Both allowed our heterotrophic ancestors to eat others and to avoid being eaten themselves. As life continued to evolve, heterotrophs sought out other forms of nutrition. Other heterotrophs. In the Cambrian, 500 million years ago, we see a sharp increase in life's diversity of forms, but many of these are for defense. There are suddenly shells for protection and eyes to see the predators or your prey. With each new evolutionary development, the food chains of our early world became more and more complex. Each successive level of heterotrophs tried to kill without being killed, leading to various diets and specializations. Herbivores, omnivores, carnivores, scavengers, and active predators. All the subdivisions of the food chain that developed as the easiest way for an organism to survive. And our primate ancestors were no exception. "10 million years after the death of the dinosaurs, in the bowels of a sweltering jungle, an ancient primate hunts for food. On the small side, it is less than 200 grams in weight, with a long face and surprisingly small eyes, which sit more on the side of its head than on the front. It looks a bit like a tree shrew, but despite this, Carpalestes is indeed an ancestral primate. One key similarity: it uses opposable toes to hang onto branches, though its ankle bones suggest it wasn't doing much jumping. But whereas today's primates use their sight to locate food, this ancient predecessor is not so well prepared. Its eyes are small and further to the side of the head, giving it relatively poor vision. Instead, Carpalestes hunts using its sense of smell. It's not exactly easy. The smell of flowers and ripening fruit form a cloying, odorous cloud. What will one day be the state of Wyoming in the United States is currently a thick rainforest. The world is a hothouse climate, about to reach its peak in a temperature spike known as the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. With unusually high levels of carbon dioxide, rainforests have reached up into the Arctic, and this expanded climate has given one particular group of plants the chance to evolve and flourish. Flowering plants, formerly called angiosperms. Today, many of the world's plants are descended from these early angiosperms. Any plant with a flower or a fruit is an angiosperm, and their sudden rise to dominance means that any animal capable of specializing on them is similarly successful. Small and unspecialized eyes of Carpalestes may not be particularly good at seeing distant fruit, but its nose is certainly capable of detecting that ripening scent from a distance. Grasping feet give it the skill needed to climb for its food, and its low-crowned molars are fit to crush through soft fruit and resist sugar-induced cavities from a fruit-rich diet. The fruit doesn't mind this seeming sacrifice. Primates are very good at dispersing plant seeds, so much so that some fruit eventually evolve characteristics to make them even more tempting to primates. Thick skin that is difficult for non-primates to remove, and large pits that are hard to swallow, and thus easily spared. Carpalestes gets an energy-rich meal, and the plant gets to send its seeds to a new location. A win-win for the two of them. The evolution of fruits and flowers was incredibly important for our primate ancestors. It offered a new and abundant food source with lots of sugar and thus lots of energy. While all animals work to find foods that can fuel their bodies, primates have higher energy requirements than most, in part because of our larger brains. There are two relatively abundant and seasonally consistent components of the ancestral and modern primate diet: insects and leaves. But each source has its problems. Leaves resist digestion, full of complex molecules like cellulose, which require some fermentation time in the stomach to digest. small primates cannot eat enough leaves or spend enough time on fermentation to survive with them as a primary dietary component. And so for a small primate, a few insects here and there are necessary to make a big impact on their energy intake. Meanwhile, larger primates, anything over around 500 grams, struggle to catch enough insects to use them as a viable food source. Instead, they use their larger body size to properly ferment leaves. And so for them, leaves are a much bigger part of their diet than insects. This is why today the primary insect and animal-eating primates, the faunivores, are very small, like tarsiers, and the leaf-eating primates, the folivores, are often large.
Yeah, time for
This
food.
trade-off is known as K's threshold, but there are